This might be a weird video for some people. And I honestly don't care. The people who are to get the message that I'm giving will understand it, I think. Or I'm totally wrong. In which case, whatever. This is my video for the day. So, for the rest of you, this will give you, I think, a deeper insight into me, and might give you a deeper insight into life and what we're going through right now. I've always been very misunderstood, so I'm used to it. Like, I've always been very misunderstood. Anyone remember Lost? Those of you who remember, and if you didn't like Lost because of the fucking ending or whatever, I don't care. I loved it. I thought it was a great show. Fuck off. I even liked the ending. Suck a dick. So, you're not going to convince me otherwise. People have tried since the ending, and that was a long time ago. Anyways, there's one point, for those of you who remember that, you remember this, whatever. For those of you who don't remember this, it might refresh you. And for those of you who never fucking watched it, first of all, give it a spin. It's actually a fun show. I like it. And don't get so invested into it that any slight thing going wrong fucking drives you insane. And it was a show that I think was very misunderstood. A lot of people complained about it. They said that it was, people said it was this, and they said it's not that, and it wound up being that. No, it didn't. It didn't wind up being that. You didn't understand. Whatever. Anyways, there's one part in the show where the guy who's kind of playing out the representation of God, right, is talking to the guy who's playing out the representation of man's own self-interests. And the guy that's representing man's self-interest, we'll call him Ben. He says to Jacob, the guy who's representing God, he says, "What about me?" at one point. Now, to give you some context, Ben felt very put upon because he was required to do a lot of things. He did a lot of things just purely based on faith. And he sacrificed a lot. And finally he's at a point where he can ask the person who put him through all of this hell, "What about me?" Jacob looks at him and says, "What about you?" And then Ben kills him. I thought it was genius on so many levels. That scene has always stood out to me in so many ways. Because it's sometimes you're life is very complex. It's extremely complex. Just because it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, quacks like a duck, doesn't always mean it's a duck. Sometimes that shit's a platypus. Platypus is fucking weird. It don't really look all that much like a duck. Nevertheless, I guess I should have said goose or something like that. I don't know. Anyways. Life's very complex. And sometimes what you think you're doing your intentions could be in the right place. But sometimes the intentions can grow beyond your vision. I went through that very early in my YouTube career. I lost perspective. And I focused on one aspect that really pissed me off. Because I liked the person that was being kind of fucked over. And I lost perspective of the point. Like the ultimate fucking point. And you know, it was one of those moments where you at some point something snaps you out of that shit. And you gotta face that. And you have to weather that storm. You have to be willing to say, I fucked up. And it happens. It happens in life. And I've found that more often than not, when you just admit to it, you know, whatever, it winds up better in the end. Try and hide shit. It doesn't work for you. Life is complex. And it's extremely easy to lose the point in the complexity. I want to do a slight segue. My best friend Dennis is one of the best people I've ever met in my life. He really genuinely is. I've known him since I was like 19, I think. We've been friends for over 20 years. That's a long friendship. And I love the man. I love the man to death. He's the best friend I've ever had in my life. And he hasn't lived easily. He's a large man. And that provides all manner of fun health things. He's been misdiagnosed and improperly diagnosed and improperly treated for things pretty much his whole life. Just a lot of shit going on there. It's bad. He's constantly in pain. His allergies have gotten so bad now that he has to actually pay attention to like the pollen count and air quality and shit like that, and that lets him know whether or not he's gonna have a bad day. Like, there are times I get on, I'll get on the Xbox and party with him, and it's just the whole time we're talking is, and he's fucking gasping for breath, and it's like, God, like it's miserable. It's miserable. And, I've known him for 20 years. So I've seen him when he was, young, hale, and hearty. And to see him in the state that he's in now, it's sad. It's heartbreaking. And he can't work. He can't stand for very long at all, really. Like I said, his breathing has just gotten for shit. He's got all manner of problems. He can't do it. And he's on disability. And people might have gotten a misconception with me that because I'm against much of the things that are going on right now, much of the agenda that's being pushed currently, the handout agenda, that I'm against it cross-border. No, I'm not. I'm not opposed. Like, look, we pay money into taxes, right? And that all just goes into one giant pot. And that pot gets mixed into fucking pie filling. And they make shit tons of pies. And they go to the fucking military and they go, here's your pie. And they go to the schools and they go, here's your pie. Right? They go to all the programs that get pies. And they go, there's your fucking pie. And then the military decides which slices of pie goes to which programs. Shit like that. Like, you know, the government's not slicing it up into pieces. Fuck no, it's making pies. It gives whole pies to people. Groups and businesses and things like that. They all get pies. All these programs. Fucking pies. Here's your pie. And that's what they get. They get one pie. From that pie, they need to divvy up that pie to the people who are most deserving, to the things who are most deserving, most in need. What do we need to put money into most? Says the military. They go, well, our whatever. We need more planes. More planes! Here's your piece of pie. Right? Like that. What do we need second most? We need more boats. Still got pie. Hit me again. What's third? You know, like that's right. But with social programs, it's people. It's not, you know, what. How many textbooks do we get to buy this year? It's people. How many lives do we get to keep fucking going? How many people do we get to ease their suffering the best we possibly can? And I like that for people who are in need. Now, need is a relative term. I need to sit on my ass in this fucking chair and watch TV, play video games, and do YouTube videos. That's what I need to do. I know that's what I want to do. What I need to do is get the fuck up every morning, go to work, do my job the best that I possibly can, come home, and that's when I get to do the rest of that shit. Right? But I feel that I need to do it. Sit on my ass all day. Right? And I provide a service. I do YouTube videos. It provides a service. Right? I think that's good enough for my lot. I think I should be able to swing that somehow. Okay, well, work hard at it. But you're going to need to keep a day job until that breaks. Like, that's fucking life. That's some fucking reality shit. Right? It's reality that turns your needs into wants. And sometimes it turns your wants into needs. And other times it eliminates the reasonable prospect of wants and gives you only needs. And that's the shit I'm talking about. Those are the social programs that I'm happy they exist. Dennis can't work. He can't. Meet the man. If in the first 5 seconds you don't look at him and go, oh yeah, then you're a heartless fuck. Like he's not doing good. It sucks. Hopefully he's getting better. Finally, we think we've got him an appropriate diagnosis, and he says that he's starting to feel better. Hopefully that continues. That's amazing. That would be awesome. You know how awesome it would be? You know how awesome he thinks it would be? To get to the point where he could go back to work again? And not have to be on disability? You know how happy that would make him to not wake up every day suffering and in pain? Unable to breathe? I imagine that he would trade the ability to sit at home all day and do whatever he wants or feels he needs to do with not living in suffering. I think that man needs help. I think there is a lot of dentists in this world that need help. And I agree that should exist for all of the dentists out there that need help, that can't do things. I know, there's no such thing as can't. Sometimes there is. And it sucks. But that's life. Life sucks. And for some people, it sucks really bad. And my life is fairly good. All things considered, my life is fairly good. So I don't care that I'm paying taxes to help Dennis out. I do that of my own free will on top of what I give the government to do that for me. Another story, real quick, just to draw a parallel. I had recently talked about how I had hurt my back. That I didn't know what happened. It wasn't any specific action. It wasn't any, I couldn't point to that box and go, that was the box that I bent down to pick it up and it fucked me up. It just was something that happened. It's just... buddy of mine today at work was laughing at me. He's like, yeah, sucks to get old, doesn't it? And because I tease him all the time because he's like 4 years older than me, so I always say that he's like 500 years older than me. I just fuck with him. That's how I fuck with him. He's very, very old, but he's not really. And he's like, yeah, sucks to get old, doesn't it? And it's like, yeah, fucking does. And, oh no, that was a truck driver that said that. Truck driver said something to me about getting old, because I got out of the fucking car and I was like, because I'm still kind of stiff. You know what I mean? I'm not sore anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm just stiff. So I'm getting out of the car and he heard me groaning and he's looking at me like, dude's got a fucking white beard down to here and he's looking at me like, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, fuck this getting old shit, man. And he's like, I'm 65. And I'm like, well, I'm 40. 65 is my fucking nightmare. And he just laughed and fucking went about his day. And I, went about my day. But I mentioned that I hurt my back. Now, there have been situations at work. One of my old jobs, we had this shit that we had to pack. And it was rolls. These rolls were like 75 pounds. They were rolls of fabric that was wrapped in plastic. So we had to stack these because we had to ship them overseas. We had to stack these things high enough that it would fill up the container as much as possible. And we couldn't put, skids on top of shit because they were just loose rolls. Destroy the rolls. So we had to stack these things like 8-9 layers high. I mean, we're at the point where you're doing the last one and you're like kind of jumping it up on there, so it'll sit nicely in the little cups that the rolls sit in, right? And one day we almost had an accident. My hand slipped, his hand slipped, we both kind of slipped. The fucking thing started to fall, and we both were smart enough to just push the fucking thing away from us. Just let it go. Right? Had one of us not been smart enough to just push the fucking thing away from us, or not thought of it, or not had time to think of it, I'm looking at him and he's looking at me, you know, my partner. We're just like, oh, dude, that would fucking hurt. You know, like, can you imagine holding half of a 75-pound roll, and if like it slips between your hands and just cracks straight down on your fucking noggin? That could fucking kill somebody. You know, but what was Billy Mays had a bag fell on him in an airplane, like an overhead bag fell on him, hit his head, and fucking died. Shit can kill somebody, you know. Break a nose at the very least. And I'm like, you know, I went in and I said, look, I said, this is a problem. What we're doing here. We need to figure out a better way to do this shit. And they were kind of like, and I'm like, look, here's the thing. If I get hurt doing this, from this point on, after I've mentioned to you that this is a problem, I want you to understand you won't be able to settle with me. I will take you fully to court. And they were like, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm just going to feel the principled need to. And we started working on that problem after that. And then they pushed me out of the company, so God knows what they're doing now. Hopefully the right thing. I don't know. But they were dragging their feet a lot when I was still there. Anyways. Yeah, that's quite a workers' comp claim. Right? I threw my back out because I'm old. But it happened at work. Right? Somebody in the comments was like, look, workers' comp. You know, if it happened at work, workers' comp. Well, it happened at work, but it didn't happen because of work. And if I bend straight over and pick something up, fucked up my back, I'm old. And I'm old enough to know that I'm old. And I'm old enough to know that you don't fucking pick shit up like that that's heavy. I need to be smarter because I'm getting old. I can't do that dumb shit anymore. I used to do that dumb shit, and that's what's gotten me to this point. I need to stop doing the dumb shit at some point, right? I need to take the time to do the squats. It's leg day every day. So, you know, workers' comp. Right? And yeah, I probably get away with that shit. I could be like, look, I threw my back out of work. Not now. At this point, no. It was a little bit late at this point. But when I went home for that 2-3 hours that I was out of work entirely for the whole fucking thing, I could have been like, nah, fuck you, I'm going to the hospital. Threw my back out. And I could have, fucking workers' comp, I could probably still be out of work, just hanging out. And I'm still a little tight, you know. Whatever. Physical therapy. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? We'll go in for it. I pay for it. Works out. Right? Like, I could have done that shit if I really wanted to. But what? Why? Why would I do that to Dennis? And I don't even know if that would actually be taken out of his pie. It could be a totally different pie I'd be taken out of. But why would I want to do that to that Dennis? That's his slice of the pie. That's his piece. I'm not going to do that to him. Because I don't need it. I want it. I don't need it. So why would I do that? Dennis has, been doing this for a while now. And he's had to go through some shit. He's in the system. He's dealing with the government. And the system just grinds people up. I think, honestly, at some point, somebody began to change the system to where it would just drive people into the grave as fast as possible so that they wouldn't have to keep paying them. Honestly, Dennis has been in the system for a while. And so, you know, he's my best friend, but I'm also his best friend. So he tells me this shit. You know, he tells me what he's going through. He tells me what it's like. And he told me about a time that he was in there to get his, you know, whatever. I don't know, had to deal with something. He was some problem or some shit. And he's, you know, looking at the people in there. He used to be a bouncer, so he's a people watcher. And you know, he's watching the people. And he sees this lady wearing very nice, very chic clothes, you know, all decked out with bling. And she's got 10 kids with her that are all in ratty shit clothes. And he said he watched her go up and argue with the man about money, and then fucking leave pissed off with all of her kids in tow. And then she went out with them and got into an Escalade. Drove off. And I'm like, you know, that cunt is stealing a little portion of Dennis's pie. All the Dennises in that pie group. She's, you know, every time she decides we need a raise, let's pump out another kid, or holy shit, one of them left, let's pump out another kid. This is my job. I produce people, and the government pays me to not take care of them well. I hear that kind of shit. It pisses me off. Because it's a byproduct of generosity. This is another thing I've watched with Dennis for years. Dennis is loyal to a fault and generous like you wouldn't believe. He very rarely thinks for himself. He very rarely buys himself things. Like, I remember one day he came over and he's like, dude, I bought myself like a bunch of stuff. And I was like, what? He's like, yes. He's like, I said, fuck it. And I went and I bought myself a bunch of stuff. And I was like, wow. That's awesome. You know, he showed me all the stuff that he bought, and it was fucking cool. It was cool that Dennis, you know, bought himself stuff. Like, that was cool. Dennis doesn't buy himself stuff. Usually I buy him things. He played the demo for Sly Cooper over and over and over again for months. And then for Christmas one year, I bought him every fucking Sly Cooper game that existed. And I was like, but fucking stop with the demo. I'm tired of hearing the same noises and the same music from the same fucking stage over and over and over and over again. Play goddamn game. And he's like, I just like the demo. I didn't really want the game. I'm like, for as much as Dennis thinks that I'm a trial, dude, it's counterattack. Everything I do to you, it's a counterattack. Anyways, so I fucking remember where the fuck I was going with this. Dennis doesn't buy himself things. Generous to fault. I've watched Dennis loan people money, never get paid back, let people borrow things, it comes back destroyed, and they just don't fucking care. I've watched people take advantage of Dennis a lot. And, you know, it's just, you hear those stories, you know that shit's out there. And it's fraud. It's illegal. But technically it's not fraud, because she does have 10 kids. Like, it's the worst sort of fraud. It's the fraud that you can't really go, motherfucker, are you serious with this shit? Like, how do you regulate that? What do you do? But nevertheless, that bitch is taking up pie. Lots of pie. from lots of people who have needs. And she is fueling her wants with needs. She's creating new need so that she can just do enough so that she can get all her wants. I don't like that shit. It's upsetting. It's disappointing that humans can be so cruel to each other. To take other people's pie. I hate that shit when people take other people's fucking pie. But nevertheless, you're a fucking pie thief, motherfucker. Quit stealing motherfuckers' pie. So when somebody comes along and he starts talking about wanting to shore up the fat and stop allowing the pie thieves to steal pie and stop incentivizing current pie thieves to just commit more fucking atrocities. When somebody comes along running on a platform of, I'm gonna fucking deal with all the people grifting the fucking system, that motherfucker gets my attention. You wanna know why? Because he's on the side of my best friend. Donald Trump came along and said, fucking pie thieves. We got a problem with fucking pie thieves in this country. And I said, goddamn right. What are you going to do about it? He said, I'm going to do what I can. And I said, you know what? That's better than anybody else I've ever heard, because they've all told me they're going to do something about it. And they do nothing. At least he's honest enough to say, I'm going to do what I can. And he tried. Ultimately, was voted down by pie thief hopefuls. What do? She does, after all, actually have 10 kids. I don't want to put them in the system either. The system's fucked up because there's so many pie thieves. The system can't help but be fucked up. It can't deal with the volume of pie thievery. So corners have to be cut. Some people are getting fucking shitty cake cut in pie shapes, and it's like, man, I know this is not pie. Just because you cut it like pie doesn't mean it's pie. This is some cake. Fucking cake. I want pie. I need pie. You're giving me cake. Cake ain't good enough. That's what you get. Everybody's stolen all the pie. So when somebody comes along and says, we're going to give people $600 extra a week to sit at home, I go, you're out of your fucking mind. Do you understand how many pie thieves there are out there?
I'm on your side, but you're not.